the market was strong. It ended very strong for 2019. And at this point, it's looking like 2020 is going to continue this trend.
Now, Tony's showing off a little this morning. He put together all these stats comparing 12 months to 12 months, and then the rest of us have to try to catch up. So if you're going to do that, get out there and tell us something.
Okay, so one of the things we were looking at, and just when it comes to numbers, and I'm just going to tick off kind of what we looked at, was new listings for December is up 8.1%, okay, which is good. We're looking for new listings. We want new listings to be up. And for the year, it was up 7%, okay, which is we hope that if we have a nicer spring with less, snow and flooding and that sort of thing, I think those numbers are going to continue, which is going to be a plus for our market. I mean, last year we got hamstrung a little bit because of, all the snow and the flooding. It really slowed things down for a lot of people because they couldn't put their homes on the market, or people were reluctant to make a move on a new home because they were worried if it was going to be a problem.
All right. This is almost like the Kansas City Chiefs scoring 52 points after being down 24 points. 51% higher on pending sales?
Yeah, 51% higher. That is an amazing number for December. So what it is saying is that we've been talking about how this market's been building all year long because of the slower market earlier in the year. And another thing that's been a factor for that is the interest rates. Interest rates being, below 4%. Has been a big boon. And then the other thing is the weather's been a little nicer. I mean, a little more cooperative. So, December was amazing when it comes to that. Year to date, when it comes to pending sales, we were only up 1.6%. So that tells you how far we had to come. How much we're playing catch up.
Median sale price. That's going to jump on people a little bit because they're going to look back to 2009 and see quite a difference.
Yeah, so that was one of the stats I thought was interesting. We're talking about median sales price. For our MLS, our median sales price was up in December 9.5%. Okay, so we were at, and that basically equates out to be like $213,477. Okay, for the year we were up 5.1%. So for the year of 2019 versus 2018, our median sales price was up 5.1%. Okay, which was $214,000. So now I thought, well, because of the stats that you say I like to throw at you, I thought this was a good one. This is just one of those things that I think that is kind of a good way to just get a feel for how our market is versus the rest of the United States. The median sales price in the United States for existing homes is $271,000. Okay, so back to our median sales price that we were talking about for the year, $214,000. Then new construction, when they broke these numbers out, they broke them out as also new construction median sales price. New construction median sales price for U.S. was just about $300,000. So, and then I went and said, okay, well, here we are at a median sales price of $214,000. So let's just take a step back and let's just look at what happens, back in 10 years ago, for example, because 10 years ago, we're all around. We get it. Many people bought homes, 5-10 years ago. 10 years ago, our median sales price in our MLS was $139,900 compared to our median sales price of $214,000 now. And then I thought, well, let's just take a look at 5 years. 5 years ago was $165,000. And then in 2017, our median sales price was $190,000.
All right, time to bring in Luetke. All right, Larry, I'm going to give you one that you got to struggle with a little bit. I mean, you're the president of the association. I can't just throw you a softball on a tee. So what I'm looking at is the undersupply of homes on the marketplace, 4.8%. That is something that affects people, and obviously supply and demand affects the price.
I agree. A lot of it, you look at what Tony just said. We started out a little slow, so we played catch up pretty much the whole year. But I think still there's a lack of inventory that's still out there, that we have a lot of people that, want to buy something, but they have a house to sell, and they're just not taking that leap of putting that property on the market before they find their property they want to buy. I think if we got those out there, I think that would fix our inventory issue.
Now, generally, people say, well, you're just talking about Sioux Falls. We're going to talk about all of South Dakota when we have Brent Adney on at 9:30. But we have a multiple service area, the smaller towns. What's happening there? What have you guys seen?
Well, basically what I've seen is, you used to be able to say, Harrisburg to Sioux Falls, there's about a $10,000 difference in price, but I think we've gotten pretty close.
That's kind of gone the other way, though.
Yep.
Recently, hasn't it?
Yep. And basically, I mean, they're all having the same problems of inventory. I think you've probably seen a greater gain of price in those smaller towns. They've probably reaped most of the benefit of the growth. But yeah, I think it's the same as Sioux Falls.
All right, you guys, the big question people have, they're buying or selling. Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? What do I do now? Do you have to wait until it's above 32 degrees?
You do not have to wait till it's above 32 degrees. I understand that it might be just a little bit more comfortable, but in the same token, we live in South Dakota, and you just get your Mad Bomber hat out, and you go out and look at houses. So that's what we do. We got, I think today we got 5 houses I got to go show, and we'll be glad to do it. But it's right now, I think you're probably looking at more of a seller's market, and in reference to most of the price points that we talk about in our MLS. That doesn't mean, we've said this over and over, it doesn't mean that you still don't have to do, check all the boxes when it comes to decluttering, cleaning, making sure things are touched up and look good, because, those things will, for a minimal amount of investment, will be a huge, return to you. But I think a lot of the people that we've talked to, I mean, they've only owned their homes for 3 to 6 years, are very pleasantly surprised at their values.
All right, Larry, let's present a real problem. You got people that have to move out of town, and they've got a house to sell. So they think, well, Larry and what's his name, old Tony, are telling us that people are buying houses. So should I go ahead and buy another house, or should I sell the first one, or know that I can sell the first one before I do something else?
I guess it really depends on where you are financially on that point. A lot of times we urge you to sell your house before you go and buy the next one. But sometimes it's just dependent on where you're at in life. And if you're able to go out and do that second home and you're comfortable doing it with the 2 payments, I mean, it's totally up to them what they want to do. But typically I recommend that they sell their house before they buy the next one.
Tony, most asked question you're getting right now.
Yeah, I think it's just related to, if we sell my house, where are we going to go to? And I think it's more about just trying to make sure that we're answering all those questions, and they have a real good picture or idea of how we accomplish that when it comes to if someone's going to move from their house and get to the next one, and do it in a seamless manner. So there's a lot of questions around that. And so I think it's incumbent upon us as agents to make sure that we're making sure that they have a really high comfort factor with, how this process goes.
You mentioned you had 5 homes that you were doing what with today?
We're going up to, I have a buyer that we're going to go look at homes this afternoon.
What kind of price range?
We're in probably like the 200 to 250, price range. So it's still, it's a fairly picked over category. I mean, anything less than 250, the market's pretty tight.
And are you guys finding buyers that are coming from out of town, a long ways out of town, or right in town, or they're just moving around because of age and jobs? Larry?
I think they're all over the market. I mean, I haven't really found an age group that's really, moving. I think everybody's basically the strong market. I mean, basically everyone with tax credit or the tax issues. I mean, basically they've had a lot more money in their pockets.
Yeah, I think today, the people I'm working with are renters. They've been renting, and they just wanted they could see that where their money could go a long ways because of the interest rates, and potentially going out and buying a home. And then they have, a few children, so it's going to be nice for them to have a little space, elbow room.
All right, you got 5 to show. You better get on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tony Bachman, Team Keller Williams. We're going to bring in the president of the home builders next. He'll stay and see what he can do with Larry. Can anybody do anything with Larry?